Welcome back to another episode of the Real Life Investing Podcast with Jason and Rachel Wagner. Dude, we have a badass in the house today. Mike Bednarz is joining us. This guy is an entrepreneur. He's got the mindset of a champion. He is a real estate investor. He's young as hell. And guess what? He's a vegan.
Wow, I feel like I should walk out after that introduction. I can't beat that.
This is going to be a conversation that's going to be motivational as hell. You're going to hear Mike's story. And Mike's got Mike's a guy, I feel like you are living on a whole nother level after what has happened in your life. And I think that you have such an inspirational story to really tell. And I can't wait to get into it. But Mike, why don't you just tell us a little bit about like who you are, what your business is, why you got into real estate, and why are you a vegan too?
Wow, I appreciate all that. We'll start with the veganism that's top of mind. I grew up in the bodybuilding culture. I'm sure you did. Played soccer in college. Everything is like protein. So I was brainwashed. I used to, I don't want to say make fun of kids that were vegan or vegetarian, but not the best things to say about them. And I read a book called How Not to Die in probably about 10 years ago. And it just exposed me to kind of separating yourself from all the marketing and things that you believe to be true. Like you need meat at every meal, you need milk to grow your bones. And this book really educated me. And I have that type of personality where I can like cut things out cold turkey. If I know it's good or bad, like I'm all in, no hesitation. So actually this Thanksgiving is 9 or 10 years. I decided to try it. I cut out meat and I've never looked back since. I'm a type 1 diabetic too, so it's helped tremendously with my blood sugar, my regulation, my numbers. And I just feel like I've been exposed to a lot of stuff in this world that has made me believe that this is truly the right path that everyone should do if you care about health and longevity. Balance is certainly important in life. Like you need balance. And I realized I've had a hard time. How would you say? Like, I apologize. My brain, we could talk about the injury, but sometimes I miss words and forget words. But just being like having that sort of discipline and exposure at the same time, it's like I'm all in. I'm on this. This is definitely gonna help me get going and improve my life, improve my longevity. I'm very into fitness, so it's been huge in that regard. As far as the entrepreneur stuff, my brother and I own a commercial HVAC company, so heating and air conditioning. We could talk about my accident in a second. It's actually the reason I haven't had an accident or fell. But when I had my accident, it was my brother and I. He's just amazing. Like people say, don't partner with your brother, don't partner with family. But like, I'd be no one without this guy. He's amazing at what he does. We never fight. Like we're just such a great yin and yang. So we started the company when I went down in August 2023. We had 2 guys. Now we have 9 trucks. We actually just bought our 9th truck yesterday. So I've been more exposed to like the business side of things, selling things like that since I went down, since I'm not cleared to be on a roof or anything. So we've just been able to grow exponentially in terms of that. So that's awesome. As I'm trying to remember your thought, real estate, we can dive into whatever you want to after real estate. I'm that type of person. I kind of just built like the long-term goals, which is a huge struggle for me personally, because it's a hard time to find. Not to say I don't enjoy life, but I'm so focused on the next couple of years, the next things, where I'm like, I'm in a very blessed financial situation. Like I could pretty much do whatever I want, but like, I'm like, I got to save this up. I got to get the next investment. So it's been hard to kind of balance that like short-term benefit versus the long-term mentality. But I always knew since I was probably 20 years old, I wanted to buy and get into real estate. So I had saved up for, 4, 5, 6 years, I was living at home where I grew up in Des Plaines and commuting to the city on the metro every day. And, all my friends are living in River North, Lincoln Park, getting these apartments. And I'm like, you're just wasting cash. Like, what are you doing? My original plan was to save up. I was going to buy a condo and have two of my buddies like pay me rent. But I was like, real estate's all math to me. It's all just simple math and a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy a multifamily. I'm just going to go all in. So it was very hard to get to that mentality. You have like anxiety, like if this breaks, I'm going to, all these negative thoughts, but you just got to put those to rest and dive in, I believe. So I bought my first multifamily in 2020. I bought a 3-flat in Edison Park on the northwest side. My dad's amazing too. Like he knows so. You met him, yeah. He's an interesting dude. He knows so much about like fixing and building and all these things. So him and I literally spent an entire year gutting the garden apartment. So I moved into the garden apartment. I had enough, cash flow to cover all my expenses on the first and second floor units. For what I was doing. So we spent a year literally building that thing up in the basement, and then I moved in there. I lived down there for probably 2-3 years, and then my girlfriend Maddie and I we moved up to the first floor. So now I do a medium term rental, which is a minimum of 30 days. There's a website called Furnish Finder. I'd highly recommend it. It's just like in that area, it's just, they're both nodding their heads, audience. Oh yeah. It's just like, I've literally, I don't know the exact number, but it's less than 1% vacancy for that thing. And I get a premium. I just left all my stuff down there. So that building has been extremely lucrative. And I got into, I'm familiar, I'm sure you're familiar with Bigger Pockets. Mm-hmm. Like they're all like one a year. So like that was like programmed in my mind. So 2020, bought the Edison Park 3-flat, lived in the basement. 2021, we kind of just renovated and did all our stuff. And then was living there and then 2022, I bought a mixed use 6-unit in Norwood Park, right on the half circle. There's actually like kind of Instagram famous, like a cafe in there now that's been really huge. The two girls are great. It's called October Caf. They're in there. So there's 3 units on the first floor and then 3 units on the second and third floor that are residences. So that was my first experience into commercial real estate. So as you guys know, 4 units and less is residential. So anything above 4 is considered commercial. So people like, there's a lot of negativity surrounding that, like in the real estate community, like it's scary. It's different. Like I didn't really experience that. It's like, it's a numbers game to me. And I knew this thing was underperforming to the max. It was grossing in 2022. I think my gross rent was like $5,500-ish. And right now I'm right above 10 grand a month.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I
like doubled it.
It's pretty. The updates and things I've done have been fairly easy, and I have to. It's called a balloon loan. So in 5 years, so in August 2027, I have to refinance because they call the loan and it's due. So by then, based on my math, I'm gonna pull all my cash out and get a couple $100,000. Knock on wood. Hopefully. That's my plan. So that was 2022. 2023, I purchased a mixed use commercial property in downtown Edison Park. It's a 2-unit. There's right now Banana Nails is in there, and then there's a residence in the back. As I'm analyzing and what happened to me and everything, that doesn't perfectly fit my portfolio. Like I want to eventually sell it and scale up. We can talk about 1031s into something bigger. But that was my plan there. That building performs pretty well. Our original plan was to bring our company, the commercial HVAC company, into that and have that as our space. But I was just messing around, posting it to see if I could get any traction. And this, her name's Anastasia. She owns Banana Nails. There's one in Irving Park as well. She viewed the place, loved it, and we worked out a 5-year deal. So that one's been great, and kind of managing that. And then actually with the man on the other end of the podcast, he brought me a deal in this year, 2024. It's since we could not move our business into the 2023 one, downtown Edison Park, Banana Nails took it. I was still on the hunt for a mixed use property. The reason I'm so gung-ho on mixed uses is because there's a huge tax burden is alleviated once you have residences compared to a commercial property. So the taxes are more favorable, and I knew we had a little, a card in our pocket that we could move our business there. So if there was an issue with one tenant or a vacancy, that was kind of what I was looking for. So in this one was a pain to close, but in April we closed on a mixed use 5-unit in downtown, or not downtown Edison, just Edison Park. And we're moving our business there in the next month, and then the other 4 are leased up. And also through this process, we were talking off air, you save money, and then we're the type of people you just invest it. So in the process, this past couple of years journey, I have a 6-unit with 2 other guys in Portage Park, and then I'm a part of 3 syndication deals, I believe. So I'm all into real estate. Based on my calculation and numbers, I could probably have the opportunity to retire in a couple of years, but I'm I don't want to say I'm addicted to work. My family and girlfriend will tell you I am, but this is just, I just see the future so clearly, and it just makes so much sense. It fits with my personality on the short-term sacrifices for the long-term gains. I could have taken that down payment and, bought an awesome single family, but, my girlfriend and I are living in a 3-bedroom apartment with people below us and above us, which, we're getting to the point where that might be a little too much since we've built the foundation. So,
all right. So this is, we literally just heard everything you did within the last 4 years. And I mean, correct me if my timeline's wrong, but you said you started your HVAC business in 2023?
No, sorry. We started, the HVAC has been 6 years. So what is that, 2018?
Okay, all right. So 2018 is really when you started. That was kind of the beginning of the timeline, right?
Yes.
So 2018 is when your HVAC business started. And then in 2020, that's kind of when you bought your first multifamily.
Correct. I was working a corporate job before that. I was working for iHeartMedia. They own a bunch of radio stations, Kiss it, all that stuff. And I was just looking at my boss's life. They're sending emails till 2, 3 a.m., all the stuff they look. I'm that's not what I want to do. This isn't for me. So my brother has been a technician pretty much since 17, 18 years old. And he's what are you doing? We can start this. We can grow this. We can build, So it took me a year to get to that process because I went to school in New York. And I was just brainwashed, go work for a big firm, climb the corporate ladder, do all these things. And I'm I was so unhappy at my job, and I had him whispering in my ear all the time. So it took me a year, but eventually I'm yeah, let's do it. And we did.
So your brother was working for another HVAC company prior to all that, then you guys joined and started it from scratch. I thought your dad had a little bit of HVAC in him too, right?
My dad did HVAC too. So my brother has that, in his back pocket. For me, I didn't have that. He's amazing, technically.
But your dad didn't. Did your dad own a company?
My dad, he worked for a company called Bedco Mechanical.
Okay.
And then, he started a company. So we were.
And then he started his own. Okay.
Yeah, we were also exposed to the entrepreneur type of life, and this was always something, we skewed more towards.
Yeah. Okay. No, I love it. So what's really funny is that I think there was an article the other day that was talking about how the millionaires are coming from the HVAC companies. Did you see that one floating around Facebook?
I'm pretty sure that's a billion. No, I mean, I always tell people, like, it's not a sexy job, but it's very lucrative. Like, I handle all of our margins, all our invoices built, like, so I see it, and, you know, I know the margins involved, and I'm very, you know, to the previous points, I would say money motivated, which is good and
Would you
bad.
say that there's a shortage of HVAC companies that are out there?
I think the biggest problem nowadays, while I've been hiring and trying to find people, is that, you know, our demographic, like, they don't really want to work, and they don't want to work in the trades. So as all those older guys get out of, you know, the field, the 40, 50, 60-year-old guys get out of the field, there's going to be no new influx of people. So right now, we strictly do commercial and industrial. There is, like, if you're a good company and you do good work and have fair prices, there's no issue at finding work. As far as a shortage, like, there's definitely an abundance of HVAC techs out there, like residential ones specifically. But as I was mentioning, in 10, 15, 20 years, like, they're going to lose a lot because all those old timers in the trades are gone.
Yeah, there's such a huge opportunity to be in the trades right now. Is a lot of your business, are you doing like new installs, or are you doing like just servicing?
Our bread and butter is service and maintenance. So we have a lot of contracts with municipalities, which are like obligated to do what's called performative maintenance on their HVAC equipment. And that kind of gets us, our strategy is then we've been, I don't want to say cheap, but like we come in competitively and affordable with that, but that leads to all the service work. When something breaks, hey, we're going to call Bedco. You know, they have our contract, they know the equipment, like, and we've just been able to grow through that strategy, and organically. We don't spend anything on like advertising or marketing, and we're actually like shattered the goals I had for this year. So it's been a really good year for us.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's like that's an awesome business story, and the entrepreneurship side of things. Rachel, I want you to kind of go into, Mike talked about so many things here.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I want to ask you is, you mentioned you knew from an early age, I think you said like 20, that you wanted to get into real estate and buy a bunch of properties. And I'm just curious if you can identify where that desire came from.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question.
Because that's young.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that clear of a vision, I mean, we were a lot older.
Yeah, I mean, 26.
Yeah.
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 I think everyone kind of said, I don't know how many conversations I've had in my life where people are like, oh, you're in real estate, like, teach me. And then they don't do anything. Like, in this life, you have to execute. Like, you have to be a doer. So I think I just always, real estate. And then, you know, the way I am, like my fitness, the way I eat, the way I do things is such a prioritization on making the sacrifices now so the future is much better and rewarding. And as I got more exposure to real estate, you know, I read 15, 20 books, all those podcasts, everything. I was just like, this is it. This is my plan. Like, this financially makes so much sense. And I just executed the plan, I guess I would say, in hindsight.
So did you have like a mentor, anybody who kind of like planted the seed for you, or it was just your internal drive?
No mentor.
And then like that, you also mentioned like that work ethic to like do the hard stuff now and like reward later. Like, is it like from your dad's like entrepreneurial mindset, or like where did that come from? I'm trying to understand, how do you like instill that in our kids, right?
I reflect on that a lot, and I think two things with that. My dad raised my brother and I. My parents are divorced, so he came from a troubled childhood. Like, he was working when he was 13 years old, always had to help provide for the table. So like, that's the way my brother and I grew up. Like, I don't know, and I think my brother would say the same. I don't know anyone that works as hard as him, and he would say, I don't know anyone that works as hard as Mike. So we were taught, like, my dad, this is work before pleasure. Like, you came home, you couldn't play with the neighborhood kids until we did our homework. Like, it was just like, I think all those and so much is involved when you're a kid. But I've, like, taken that to a different sort of spectrum, more aggressive and advanced. So I think that comes from, like, I just had the mentality that, like, I need to do things I don't want to every single day. Like, I train every single day. Like, I've missed 5 days this whole year, which is probably not smart in terms of quote unquote gains, but, like, mentally, the reward I get and feel from training is way larger than, I don't really care about I care about how I look, but, like, that's just a side benefit. Like, mentally, training is what I need. So doing, like, and to that point, I don't want to train every day, but you see the clothes I'm wearing, like, I put on these sliders and these every day because I'm committing to training that day. Like, that's in my mind. I'm making that, I wake up 4 or 5 a.m. like an idiot every day. So, like, I put this on, I'm like, I have to do that. Like, that's on my list. It's getting done. So I think that harnessing and developing that mentality for the past, with training 10 to 15 years, has led to so much discipline and progression in work, that, like, we could talk about my accident, but I've had a lot of time to reflect to myself. And when I was in the hospital, like, my family's, they kept reiterating, like, now do you see that you work too much? And, like, now is it? And, like, I agreed in that point, but I've realized now in the past couple months that the only reason I've progressed so well in my recovery is because I have that discipline and drive. Like, I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to work. I don't want to, I don't want to do a million things, but it's in my mind and it's already, like, done. I'm just, like, have to, how do you say, like, put down those intrusive thoughts partially for a second and boom, I'm going. Like, it's just on my list. It's done.
Dude.
So can we go into your injury a little bit, your accident, of what happened?
Yeah. So my brother and I own the commercial HVAC company. So in August 11th, 2023, so about 14, 15 months ago, I was quoting a job, and luckily, 99% of the time we're by ourselves, where, we go on a roof, we go on a ladder, we fix, the situation. But luckily there was a general contractor there with me and I was quoting a job. So we worked on extension ladders, the ladders that you pull up and clamp down. So to this day, I don't know what happened. I don't choose or want to think about, what happened, but I was about 25 feet up on the ladder. And I guess it gave out, and I was falling, and it was about to hit the general contractor. And I don't know if this helped or hurt me, but I pushed it out of the way and just fell 25 feet onto concrete.
You pushed the ladder away?
Yeah, because everyone's like, "Why didn't you just ride it down?" I'm like, I have no memory of the week before, let alone the day of. So I had what they call a traumatic brain injury, which was my biggest hurdle. With that, like, my vestibular system has been damaged. I'm legally blind. I cracked 11 ribs, broke bones in my feet, my legs and arms. So any injury you can think of, I've probably had it. So the past 14, 15 months, I've had speech, OT, vision therapy, driving therapy, physical, all these different types of therapies. So that happened to me. And at this point, I don't like or respect people who play the victim. Like, to me, the only way I can get past this is, like, I did something wrong. Like, I did something with the ladder that wasn't correct. Like, it's not like, oh, the wind was blowing. Like, I did something wrong. It's on me. So I've accepted that. I'm disappointed in myself, but I've accepted that. And then at this point, I'm like, I needed that to happen. Like, I was working way too fast, doing too much, like not appreciating my time with my family, my girlfriend, my friends, like, because I'm always, that long-term mentality is to me, it's partially damaging, because like, my girlfriend and I are having dinner, and like, I'm just thinking, oh, like, we're going to be done and I'm going to send this email and I'm going to do, and it's just like, I'm not present. And like, I'm not an expert now by no reason, but I am like more present in my life, and that's like truly a blessing. Unfortunately, you don't realize how fragile and short it all is until something negative happens to you. And I was fortunate enough that that happened to me when I was 32 years old, and like, I've changed my outlook. But thank God for the business and the real estate, because I had put down those fundamentals where financially, like, I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm still executing the plan. So I like to say, with my fitness, with the veganism, with the real estate, the business, like, I had prepared 32 years for this moment, and I'm succeeding now because of what I did in the past. So like, my mentality's locked, and I'm gonna keep going and keep pushing.
This is what I was talking about, the mentality of a champion. Dude, I've never heard of anybody that has done so much in a short period of time and has had such a traumatic injury happen to them, and he gets up and says, I don't play the victim card, it was my fault with the ladder, and like, continues to push forward.
And that wasn't that long. I mean, 14 months ago? Like,
yeah.
That's not that long ago. Yeah,
I've had pretty much every neurologist, doctor, therapist I see, they're just like in awe at where I'm at and what I've done. I forget there's some sort of scale where when you go in, I went to the ICU, the job was in Homewood, Illinois, so I was at Christ Hospital on the south side. When you come into the ICU, they rank you, I believe it's 3 to 13, meaning 3 is like you're brain dead, and 13, you walk out of here just fine. And I got ranked a 5. So like, they told my family this, and they still bring it up to this day that they inquired with the doctor more information about this, and all this guy said was, we don't see too many 5s walk out of here. So, that was very getting emotional thinking about the way I affected my family and loved ones. So that was very challenging for them, because they didn't know, they don't know, it's like, Mike's going to come out, he might be a different person, he might not remember who you are, he might not know anything. And the real estate story, the first thing I had a medium-term rental that was expiring around that day, and the first thing I woke up and said, I was like, did Sharnavi move out? So they're like, he's back. He's
still in there.
Yeah. So I like to attribute my success, like, from up until that point, because I'm so like health conscious, like whole food, plant-based, vegan, no processed foods, like all that stuff. So I don't want to toot my own horn, I guess you would say, but I like to think that like the reason I've done so well and survived is because of that, Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I do kind of believe that, and that's why I continue to act and, with the habits I do, and I try to influence as many people as I can in regards to that.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I haven't really ever heard anybody put it that way, but it's like you had such a strong foundation of health and strong mental acuity, and so going into that accident, you were going to rebound so much better than somebody who wasn't already training and eating healthy and had strong mental mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely. That's a lot of reason to do that and practice that.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's just like anybody that does go into, like, if you have surgery or something, somebody tears like an ACL in their knee or something. Mm-hmm. It's always like the people that are usually the athletes or just more fit and disciplined that are going to like probably recover from that injury better than somebody who is not, right? And they, you know, they sit at a desk all day and they don't work out and they don't take care of themselves. It just seems like having these types of disciplines and putting it into your everyday practice for the unexpected. It's almost like saving for a rainy day fund type thing. It's like you're preparing your body for something that could happen in the future. You don't know if it will, but it could happen in the future. And I just love, like, you have the discipline to do that, and you've done it every single day. You've only missed 5 days this year. We just got into that. I mean, I've totally tapped into that. Working out every single day is such a superpower. But let's see, when did we start 75 Hard?
2021. The end of 2021, yeah. It's only been 3 years.
Yeah, so we've been doing it for about 3 years. And but I recognize it is tapping into a superpower. If you can be disciplined and you wake up, you know, you called it silly waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day, but that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, that makes like, two of us.
Yeah, you know, it's like you do it early, you get it done, and then you've got the rest of the day to take on the remaining of the tasks, and you're already sharp and you're ready to go. And a lot of people, they kind of get to the point where like, I want to drag on throughout the entire day because I wake up early. But actually, once you do it over and over again, your energy, like, you have endurance, right? Yeah. And you don't really get tired. I would imagine that you don't really get tired until like into the late in the evening, right?
Yeah, but I crash like late into the, but I mean, this is like 10, 11 p.m. You know, but my girlfriend and I, you know, you say F words, where we have the D word, and the D word is discipline. Like, so much in everything I'm trying to articulate now all comes back to discipline. It's consciously choosing to do something that, like, you don't necessarily want to do, but like it's gonna get done. You know, you have to do it. Like, most of the time when I train, I'm like tired, I have paperwork, all this stuff. But like it, you know, I put on the sliders in the morning, it's done. I'm already getting it done.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. It's so good. All right, so what is the like? So what happened? So is your girlfriend a vegan too?
She, I would say 98%. She was a vegetarian before we met, and now she's vegan.
And now she's vegan. Yeah. Do you try to influence others to become vegans, or is it just kind of like, this is what I do, and like, you know, what's kind of the thought process there a little bit?
I actually have struggled with this throughout the past 10 years because I articulate these types of thoughts because I care about the people in my life. So I see my brother eating a cheeseburger and beer, I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And like, to him, it's probably super annoying, and I get that. But in my mind, my sole goal is like, in this example, his health and his longevity. So like every time, you know, when you get food, he's like, oh, I didn't get the fries because I was thinking about you. Like, check, I won. You know, like selfishly, I won. Like, my annoyance is what I believe to be positively impacted someone I care and love about. So like people in, you know, my life at this point, like I don't drink alcohol either. I haven't had a sip in, I think 6-7 years. Wow. That's another like, so it's I'm such an anomaly, right? Like most of my friends, like I love them to death, but on the weekends they're going out and having drinks and doing stuff like that. And that's just not me. And that's been challenging personally, because it's harder to relate to people that don't have the same characteristics. And not to say one is right or one is wrong. It's just what I believe in to my core. So I am going to attempt, and maybe annoying, but attempt to positively, what I believe, impact the people around me. My mom had been on blood pressure regulation medicine for 30, 40 years. The doctor said, hey, this is hereditary, like you can't do anything about it. So when I began my vegan journey, I was like, Mom, just try this, like, please. She's, no, it's not gonna work. That's voodoo. Like, I'm like, just try this, please. So eventually got her to try it, scale back her medicine 50%, regularly testing her blood pressure, perfect, just in line. About 6 months of doing that, we got her off the blood pressure medication completely and exhibiting a vegan diet, and her blood pressure's never been better, and this was 7 or 8 years ago.
Wow.
So once I see like that's my mom. Like, I'm gonna die for that woman. So like what I emphasized her to do, like, work to a core. So I just see these types of examples, and I'm like, I'm doing a disservice by not sharing my knowledge to the people I love and care about in regards to that.
I love it. The guy loves to share.
Yeah.
I try.
The thing that I know, and that's why I wanted you to come on, because you got such a great story, man. And the thing that I always like get kind of upset about with some really successful people or people that have found things that work for them is that they keep it internal and they don't really share it with the world, because I feel like a lot of these are kind of secrets, and they're not complex, but they're like discipline secrets. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we need to hear more of these stories of people that have, hey, this is what I've been doing every single day for the last so many years, and it's actually really benefited me. And like, we just need to hear some of these stories. And like, for me to be, well, could we ever go vegan?
And we've talked about this a lot, actually, the
right
last
here
few
for
years.
I'm the whole thing is like, I eat a lot of protein, and I feel like meat has the protein, chicken has the protein, right? What do you like? What's your combat to, bro? You don't need so much protein, or like, what's the?
I'm always curious, like, why do you feel like you need so much protein? Because you grew up on bodybuilding.com and it said like protein.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Probably.
Like it's like your weight. Like
yeah, and it keeps me full. I have a protein shake every day too, and
a lot of that is placebo
and
in the mind, though. So I fast as well. I would eat one meal. That one meal is like insane, like a lot of stuff. But I'll fast for every day, depending on work, typically 20-ish hours, and I just pack, which may or may not be the healthiest thing to do, because I have, like, I would guess, I don't know, 2,000 to 4,000 calories in like a small window. But with that discipline, like, fasting has created such a joy towards like food, and like that I didn't experience before. Like, now I'm constricting myself of this that we do need as human beings, but I'm constricting myself of these desires I have. And then when I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so happy, this is amazing, you get a dopamine rush, all these positive brain effects. So like, fasting is another thing. Like, as a diabetic, every single doctor I have says, don't fast, don't do this, but I've chosen to experiment with my body, and I've realized like the longevity benefits with that are certainly there. But like this, I'm like obsessed with that D word, discipline. Like, this just creates, like, I see people going into McDonald's at 9, 10. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do you have it in other aspects of life? Like, how are you just giving up like this? So I think with the fasting, that helps tremendously to create, if that's something that you want, that like level of discipline, because you're just not giving yourself what you want, and it's very hard. Trust me. I used to like look at the clock. Oh, I've been at it for 16 hours and 23 minutes. But now it's just like, I'm just booming, work, real estate, working out, everything that like, sometimes I get home and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't ate for 26 hours. Like, nice. And I'll usually have like, 2 workouts. Now that I'm not on job sites, I usually train twice a day like an animal. But
Dude, this guy's been doing 75 hard like his entire life and just
Yeah.
hasn't really realized that he was doing the program.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've never done that
Strict
program,
diet,
right?
no alcohol.
I know, I actually
working
never
out.
heard about it until you.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it's basically your entire life.
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's 2 45-minute workouts per day.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has to be outside. You got to drink a gallon of water, which you brought a giant half gallon
Easy,
of water
yeah.
with me. Like we're brothers. We're like the same, dude.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, another parallel.
Yeah.
You got to follow a diet. Obviously, you've got that checked. You have to read a book. You have to read 10 pages of a book.
Big reader,
Okay,
yeah.
big reader. See, already
reader.
pretty easy for you to do on that. What's the other thing? Oh, progress picture. You got to take a picture of yourself every day. That is probably where it
do
might
not
get you.
do that,
But
yeah.
you've got the discipline
Yeah.
to know, hey, if I got to do this every single day for the next 75 days. I mean, you basically have done the program.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe I'll try it then. The easy accomplishment.
January 1st. January 1st is probably when I'll start again.
So you mentioned you haven't had a sip of alcohol for 6 to 7 years.
Oh, that was another thing, right? That's the
yeah,
other part.
the other
Is that
part
you
of the
can't
program, yeah.
you can't have alcohol.
Yeah.
Yep, so
Yeah, you've
Poison,
been doing
by the
it.
way.
Poison.
I know
Yeah.
it's just like ingrained in culture, and it's very sad to me. I grew up in a family of alcoholics, so I've been exposed to some, not the best, but still I drank in high school every weekend, college every weekend, and then it's like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't need, what is society, like, I don't need to do this to have enjoyment per se and engagement and socializations. So like stepping out of that hurdle is challenging from a social perspective, but I think you need to be around very like-minded individuals if you decide to pursue that route, because like even just having, wine at the house, I'm going to come home, I'm going to see the wine, I'm going to grab the wine, I'm a human being. But like you need to be around people that aren't like that and are trying to achieve what you want to achieve, and then also not have those things in your household. Like it all starts at the grocery store, to be honest. Like I would love, like, there's vegan ice cream, and if I have it, like, I'm going for it, I'm going for it. But like I don't buy that purposefully, because then I'll just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you eat any treats?
Yeah, my girlfriend's she's really good at baking and cooking and trying vegan stuff. So but it's interesting. I think that your palate adjusts tremendously over time. So like I'll see people, like I'll have a vegan cookie that's made with like almond flour, like a couple dates and like bananas, and I'll be like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then someone who's not a vegan will eat it and be like, oh, this sucks. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is amazing. So
Yeah.
like it's the with all the previous points we've been saying, like, training your body, training your mind, like training your mouth and palate. Like what I think is amazing, people don't think is amazing. And I'm sure if I ate like a Reese's or I'd be like, yo, this is like killing my teeth right now. Like, how do you eat this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to, like, my family and girlfriend will say I don't like have enjoyment in that regards, because I'm so, regimented. But like the diabetes plays a big role into that, because if I do have something unconventional, like my numbers will see it. But I do find enjoyment in what I do, and enjoyment is different to every single person. And I've had, as I mentioned, the challenge of like relating to people, because this is, a bit of an anomaly, a difference. But like having that, I guess you would say, discipline again to choose to eat in regards to that way is just like, it's the only way to me, it's the only way. Like I survived, what I did worked, I made it.
So you were diagnosed type 1 diabetic. Was that like at birth or?
I was 11, 12 years old. I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade, maybe around there. So not at birth. it's a hereditary, so that's why like diabetes you hear in the media all the time, but that's primarily in regards to type 2 diabetes, which you can control in terms of diet, regulate, all these things. You typically just have some sort of blockage on your pancreas, so your cells can't get the insulin, typically because you're overweight or something. So type 1 is completely different. My pancreas shut down. So I have, right now they have crazy technologies. I have what's called the CGM, continuous glucose monitor, plugged into me that tells me about my blood sugar. Not always accurate, but it helps. And then I also have an insulin pump. So throughout the day and every time I eat, like I need to manually inject insulin. So when I was first diagnosed, this was like literally a vial and a syringe, and you were pulling up the insulin, and then they had pens, which is like a little cap on a smaller device, and then they had insulin pumps. So like the technology's certainly there, but I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day. Like, she thinks that like diabetes is so challenging. It's 24/7. I'm literally trying to replicate, what a human organ is doing, and it's very hard because everything affects it. Your stress level, the lights, what you weigh, drink, everything.
Really, the lights?
Like sunlight, everything. Like it's everything. Not so much these artificial lights, but sunlight drastically. Me personally affects me. Like if we were just had a vacation a couple weeks ago. Like if I get sunburn or too much sun exposure, boom, my blood sugar spikes because your body, it's a foreign agent. It dumps cortisol. So then sugar in there, like your body fight or flight mode. So it's just hard to navigate things you don't even think about that. Like I believed has helped me achieve a more grateful mindset, because like our bodies are amazing. Like it's literally amazing. And I've seen this so much with my injury too. Like the amount that we as human beings take for granted is just like embarrassing, just embarrassing. I used to, we're sitting down in chairs right now. I'll get up and I'll like partially lose my balance. Before I couldn't even get up because my vestibular system from my accident was so damaged. But that's something you don't even think about. Like you literally don't even think about until something negative happens to you. So this is all in regards to like, I feel like I know like too much about what the body and what the body does without us even having a conscious thought about it, that like you have to treat it right. You just have to take care of it. It's the only option.
Do you put a lot of priority into your sleep, or like any other things, cold plunges or saunas or any types of red light therapy,
Yeah.
the more popular things that are kind of hot right now?
I've experienced with them cryotherapy. I try to do a cold shower, like finish my shower every day with cold. Like to me, that's more of like a mental thing. I don't know how. I've seen some of the research, and it's kind of hit or miss, but it could be very good for dopamine and everything. But that's more of the things like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm going to do it. And then after, like, I'm going to be present with Maddie. We're going to have food. Like, it's going to be great. And it just creates that sort of mindset. As far as sleep, I used to be in the mindset in high school and go, oh, you sleep when you're dead. Like, no, sleep is everything. You want to be healthy, you like prioritize sleep. I read this book called Why We Sleep by, his name was Dr. I'm forgetting his name, but it was just like exposed me to this different viewpoint on what your body does during sleep and how necessary it is. So like, I've always struggled with sleeping. I shoot for 7 hours every night. Doesn't always happen, and because of the diabetes, I frequently get woken up a couple times throughout the night. So that's damaging to me mentally, because I know how much that hurts. But I would highly recommend everyone, like whether you care about fitness, general health, longevity, like you need to sleep. That's everything.
You go to bed at a specific time every night?
Yeah, one of the things I learned from this book was the importance of a wind down routine. So we talked about reading, like, we'll usually watch some shows, some TV, like while we eat, but then after that we try to read, and then that kind of winds your body down. Because it's just like, you wake up, you're sluggish, you're lethargic. It's just like going to sleep. Like, you can't be in this high state of mindset or activity and then just expect to fall asleep. So we do have a little bit of a wind down routine. I'm a big meditator. I try to meditate. I'm not that good at it per se, in terms of the action of doing it and the schedule, but I try to do it every single day. So in an ideal world, 9:30, 10, we'll start the wind down routine, get some reading in, some meditation, some breathing, and things like that. And to me, I understand it may not work for everyone, but from my personal experience, it's helped tremendously.
Since your accident, there's a lot from within. Have you grown closer in anything spiritually that you can kind of talk about, or do you subscribe to anything that's more spiritual?
It's a hard question for me. I grew up technically as like a Catholic, but religion was never a high priority in my upbringing, so I've never had those sorts of thoughts. And I see so much, like, it's very hard for me. Like, I would like to think I'm a solidly good human being, and this happened to me. Or the 3-year-old that has cancer and may or may not make it. Like, how do you justify those sorts of things that happen every day in life? But despite all of that, I do like to think that there is, I wouldn't even know how to communicate these thoughts. Like, not that I'm it's so much to me is in your mind and in yourself. If you need something spiritual to get you to a good place, 100%, I'm 100% in support of it. Whatever it takes for you, but you need to do the internal reflection and soul searching to find out what exactly that is, and then just execute it. I'm a big proponent, like, you just got to execute in this life. You just got to do what makes you feel good and what's good for the long term, and whatnot. So I guess in summation, like, me personally, I don't. Some of the meditation is really nice to just like slow down and breathe and exhale and like feel something else. Mm-hmm. But that's the closest I've ever felt to something like that.
Yeah, you're just kind of getting a lot more presence with yourself and when you're in the moments, and exactly. I respect that. What else you got?
Well, I was going to ask you've already accomplished so much in many different areas in your life so far. What type of goals or vision do you have for the future? You kind of mentioned you could retire, but you don't think that you will. What's on your vision board?
Definitely kind of have one, but to take a step back, like, that's like, I to your first point that you made, like, when I take a step back and reflect, like, yeah, I'm killing it, but I can't have that mindset. Like, to me, I could always do more. My brother and I have these conversations a lot. We have our best year, and I just got a big account a couple weeks ago, and I didn't tell him about it. He's like, what are you doing, dude? I can't stop. And, I'm getting to the point where I don't want to say it's like unhealthy, but I need to kind of reconcile with myself and see like where I want to personally go, because it's going to be a very hard challenge for me mentally to stop and slow down, because I'm always go. But bigger, larger goals is that now that I'm out of the field, I really want to get my brother out of the field, like being a technician. He's on a job site every single day. I want to get like what they call in the industry a sales manager that would like manage our guys, and him and I just step in when we need. It's very hard relinquishing that trust though. Like it's extremely hard. Like these accounts, these are our babies. It's even hard like trusting employees to do stuff. They're like, why is this person going to do it when I could just do it in half the time?
So I was going to say you probably do struggle with that, which a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that too, is relinquishing responsibility and whatnot. And control. I do want to ask you more questions about like scaling and what do you think, how can you continue to grow your business, or what are some of the bottlenecks that you really have that you think that you can implement some different things in the future to make your life a little bit easier on some of that?
The biggest thing with that is him and I need to come to terms that we cannot and should do everything. Which it's very, very hard to do. So that's currently and he just had the baby, so I want to give him more presence with that. So our biggest thing, I mean, I read the book Who Not How. That one hit me pretty hard, and it's great, but it's just like it's hard. It's really hard, especially we grew up in the how do you say, like a blue collar family. Like even with my real estate, until I fell, I don't think I hired one contractor to do anything ever. Like I literally did, last Friday I had a tenant, she had a bad toilet. I had to go go fix her toilet. It's like, and then I don't tell my brother. He's like, what are you doing? Like, I need to realize that, like, had I been working on, the business and growing the business, I could have made, us $200, $300, $400 an hour, but I'm changing a toilet where I could have charged a plumber. It cost me, $100 an hour. So it's very me personally, mentally challenging to do that. That's my biggest goal looking forward, is to do that, and then just keep scaling up the real estate, because I think that is his family and my family, like that's my brother, that's our way, out, and our way to have a nice cash flow, and still live the life that we live, while hopefully knock on wood, like not working nearly as hard as we are.
Hell yeah, man. Real estate's the ticket. It's the retirement. It's the retirement strategy for us.
Do you think you'll stick with the mixed use investments, or will you go full blown commercial, or what do you think? And will you stay just in this area, or will you branch out to other markets?
So as far as the area, I'm definitely like built my portfolio in Edison and Norwood Park, because I self-manage and do everything like that. It's just tremendously easier, Every time I go, I can ride my bike or walk to a building and, get eyes to something or fix something. So I definitely see the benefits of keeping things confined in that area. If I do ever get to a point with like massive scale, I'll have to branch out. Like, I am partners with two other guys, but that's in Portage Park, and that's amazing. Like, I don't do anything, he just handles everything. I love those investments. So that's kind of the goal in terms of the real estate portfolio. As far as the mixed uses, that I'm definitely not, like, that's kind of the little niche that I've not on purpose built, but that's kind of what has happened with what's been provided to me and what I've seen. I'm not married to them. I do eventually want to, 1031 the downtown Edison Park property, the mixed use 2 unit, into a larger apartment building. But it's, now it's, I'm actively looking every day. Like, it's just, if I see something, I'm going to go for it. I'll figure it out.
You mentioned the the midterm rental does extremely well for you, and I can also second that. Is that we went a whole year and we didn't have any vacancy, and we had we probably changed out 5 or 6 different people. Is that probably like pretty similar to what your story was too?
Yeah. I started actually in 8. So it's been about a year and a half because Maddie and we lived in the garden apartment, or I did, and then she moved in and we moved up to the first floor. So at that point, it would have been April 2023, I started doing the medium term rental. And I've gotten a wide variety of people. Like that furnish finder we spoke about is catered towards people working in the medical industry, traveling nurses, things like that. But I've gotten, my best tenant was a mom whose daughter lived in Edison Park, and she's from Pennsylvania, and she stayed like 8 months, and she was amazing. Like treated the property like it's her own. That's another thing. Like with, you think Airbnb, VRBO, like you can probably, if you're very active, get maybe a slightly higher cash flow, but like people that come into those like don't typically treat your property like it's their home, and there's a value to that. I certainly believe there's a value to that. So like I've been, knock on wood, very blessed with the tenants that I've had in terms of the medium term rental, and I'm living above them, so I see everything. But they're just going in and out to work every day, like maybe experiencing the city, checking things out. But they're great tenants. They're great people. They just want a place to live.
How much of a premium do you think it is compared to long term?
Percent wise,
or even just dollar wise?
Yeah. So with a 1-bedroom garden in Edison Park, I could probably, with the finishes we have, get around 13-ish, 1300 a month. It is a garden, but it's a nice,
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
And I've had zero. I probably need to reflect on this and maybe go a little higher, but I've had 0% vacancy at $2,000 a month.
For sure.
Wow.
Yep.
And these were all my old, like I had just used this couch and this bed for 2-3 years when I was living down there. I'm like, what am I just going to sit in storage? I'm going to try this out, and I tried it and it worked.
Yeah,
it's working. So
yeah, for sure. So like $700 too. My experience on it is we have $1,000 premium. We have a 2-bed, 1-bath garden nice. Apartment, and we were at $1,600 a month long term, and then we bumped it up to $2,600 for the midterm, and it's being rented.
Good for you.
The funny, here's the thing, you've probably seen some of this too. Is that
how did you guys furnish it?
Like through Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. Most of it.
Yeah, so we had a tenant who moved out. She was a long-term tenant who moved out and was moving like across the country, and so she actually sold some of her stuff that was already there for us, which was nice. So we basically furnished like one whole bedroom that way, and even part of the living room, and then everything else.
And the entire kitchen.
Yeah,
we bought all of her kitchen
really
supplies,
helpful.
which is amazing.
It's like a great setup. Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with, or have you encountered anyone that is experienced with, they call it rental arbitrage, where like you'll get a long-term lease and then they in turn, that tenant will then rent it out as a short-term rental?
Oh yeah. So I know of people that have done that. But why are you in?
No. I just like think it's because so many people in my life are like, yo, how do you do what you do, real estate? And I'm like, this idea is very interesting to me. If you find the right property, the right landlord that doesn't want to manage, you can collect a healthy spread, and it's a way to maybe get a little extra cash and afford a down payment.
So I did arbitrage, but not from the perspective of property.
I was gonna bring this up too.
So right before and this is a brilliant idea, and I don't know why I haven't gone back to it, because it was working really quite well. So I did rental arbitrage with parking spaces. And so I went and
Hustler.
I went on Craigslist, and every day I would just check Craigslist and I would look for parking spaces that were on a business corridor. And like off of Milwaukee, or just off of any busy road that had shops around it. And like people would rent their little, it would be in a condo building, and somebody was renting their one spot for like $75 to $100. And so what I would do is that I would sign a month-to-month lease, with them. I'd never meet the person. Okay, I'm just an inquiry from Craigslist, but I would get them to sign a month-to-month lease, and then I would put it up on Spot Hero and ParkWiz.
Nice.
So it's like the Airbnb and VRBO, but yeah, it's just like people would then rent those spaces, and I would go and drive by the space. I'd take a couple pictures of the space, put the description of how to get there. And the person that was always renting it to me, sometimes they would ask, hey, what vehicle do you drive? And I would tell them the vehicle that I drive, but I didn't tell them the vehicle that was going to be parking there. Yeah. Because most of the time, the leases were just handshake agreements. There was nothing in stone. If they ever sent me like a contract that said, this is the only vehicle that can be parked there, then it wasn't going to work, and I wouldn't do it. But anyways, I ended up getting to the point where I had like 12 parking spaces, and I was making at least $100 a month on each one.
Hell yeah.
It was really fun. And this was kind of...
This is pre-COVID.
This is pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and everybody stopped driving.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh no.
At least you're on just month leases,
dude.
though.
Oh, I know. And yeah, that was the brilliance of it, is that I didn't have these, I wasn't stuck on a 12-month lease. It was like I could try it for a couple months, and the investment was $100, right? It wasn't that big of a risk. And I could accumulate these spaces actually relatively quickly. And but yeah, that's the idea. It's the rental arbitrage. You sign a long-term lease, and then you do the short-term to capture really the market upside on that part. And I don't know why I haven't gone back to that, but it was just like the one thing in the world where everybody stops driving is COVID.
Yeah, ruined it.
And then it just kind of killed my mojo on like wanting to go after that again. So
see, like as you're sharing that story, like people look at you now like, oh, you're so successful, you're so lucky. Like they don't hear about this story. Like, how did you get here? You worked. You put your head down and worked. You thought that's to me an innovative idea, and you executed it. And you got maybe $1,000 a month. Like, that's huge. You know, people like they want the easy route. Like how are you gonna do it? Like at the end of the day, to me, all of this is two things. It's discipline and hard work. That's all it is. You can get whatever you want in life with discipline and hard work.
Yeah, and it's taking a little risk too, right?
Yeah,
but it's really more calculated risk. You said you're a very numbers driven guy, and like once you see the risk amount and like what the potential is, then it kind of makes a lot more sense, and like the risk is a lot easier to swallow. There's a.
But with that said, like. Every single deal I've closed or like bigger investment I've made, I still have anxiety. You're still freaking out. Like you're still, but you just learn, you learn to put those thoughts aside. And like, I'm the type of person, like, I'm going to figure it out. That's all that matters. Like, I just had an issue at Pratt, a leaking pipe was leaking in one of my commercial tenants, but like, it's unfortunate, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to speaking with the tenant now and how, I can rectify the situation because I want to make him whole. His carpet got ruined. So you just have to have that like everyone's going to get a curveball in every single aspect of life. There are many curveballs.
And I want to talk on this. So your investment company is called WIT Properties, right?
Oh yeah.
What is WIT? What does that stand for? I think you've said it a few times today.
Yeah, it stands for whatever it takes. Whatever it takes properties, and then I have like WIT Properties. Then the address, like I have WIT Properties 7206 LLC. So that is just I wanted to make this because I'm in this for the long haul, and 20, 30 years, I wanted that name to be a reminder of like where I came from, and especially with my accident and recovery and the things I deal with in life. Like you could play the victim, you can complain, but ultimately you got to put your head down and do whatever it takes. That's I believe that to a core. Like that's who I am, and that's why I named the LLC WIT Properties.
Yeah, dude. Fucking love that. There's another one that you what is it? Some want some or some don't. What's right? Is that the other one?
Some want and some don't.
Some want and some don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I jokingly say that to people in my life when we're working out and they're struggling and stuff. I just scream out like, some want it, some don't. And then they get a little extra push.
Dude, Rachel, I have to tell you about, okay, so Mike and I, we did a workout, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, two guys that work out every single day. But I will tell you, Mike kicked my ass. I think I kicked he's like, hey, we're going to do some pull-ups. And I'm like,
but you would have dusted me on pull-ups.
I'm going to smoke you in the pull-ups. But then he's like, yeah, but then we're going to do, what do they call it? The ski rig?
Erg.
The ski erg. And
What's that?
it's, describe it.
How would you say so they can like it's kind of like the rower machine in a sense that you have a chain and you have tension, but the poles are up top like you're on a, how do you say, long-term ski? What do they do? Like ski?
Okay.
So it's a cardiovascular activity, but it's not just like running, like you're using muscles and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I just moved it to Pratt this morning, so you guys can come by the new place. And we'll
I don't even want to touch that thing, man.
Yeah.
All right, so we did the ski erg workout, and he's like, we're gonna do the ski erg, and then you're gonna do some kettlebell swings, and we're just gonna go back and forth on this. And like you said the meters, and I was like, all right, I don't really know how far we're going, but like, all right, sounds good.
Lock and loaded.
Dude, so we were trying to do, I think probably 90 seconds a piece on the ski erg, and where you just kept going as hard as you can for 90 seconds a piece. And like, all right, the first couple times you're like, all right, I can do this.
Yeah.
And he just blows me out of the water. And no longer can I do the kettlebell swings, but I'm like dying over my knees, because here's the problem with me is that I haven't done any cardio in a long time. All I do,
zero cardio.
yeah, all I do is
need to work on the heart.
Yeah, that's I was talking with Rachel about this the other day, and that's just like a big hole that's missing in my fitness regimen. It's just like, dude, I need to focus on my cardio.
Yeah.
But you really exposed it, and you really kicked my ass. And so, but it was let's see, we worked out probably at like 9 a.m. that day, and then, dude, I was like smoked the rest of the day. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't do shit.
It's true. He came home and he's like, I think my lungs are bleeding.
I'm like,
He
dude,
said that too, and I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty jacked, but what's up with his lung?
But
I think he took a nap.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
he was really.
It's like when you see a jack guy and then you look at his calves and you're like, yeah, you
don't train. Yeah. But I like those types of lifts because they're very humbling. No matter how hard I work every day, when I like get to that component of the workout, I'm gassed. Like I'm gassed. Like it's a different level, and then it just like makes you think like, I have so much to work on. I gotta keep going. I use it as motivation. I score myself every day.
So do you do
all the
those in the
time.
morning? Like before your day even starts, you
Typically, since my therapy schedule's a little whack now, but typically our office is in Glenview until we move. I'll go to Glenview. I'll usually sip. I love black coffee. Like that's my one vice. I'll sip on my black coffee and do work for an hour or two, and then I'll train. That's where we have the gym. My brother and I built it at our shop, and I'll train there. And then depending on my schedule and my therapy, I'll try to do, I've gotten more into like, they call it zone 2 cardio, because since my accident, like I can't get after it nearly as much as I could. So I have to slow it down a little. And I've realized like zone 2 cardio, as I've done the research, is very important too. So I try to hit a second time of like a minimum of 60 minutes. Either I'll run or hop on the air bike or the rower. I typically listen to CNBC too. I'm a big like stock guy. I'm kind of, as I'm talking out loud, I seem like a robot. Like I have
My
to.
name is Mike.
Yeah.
I work out every day.
My voice is monotonous too. I have this. My girlfriend gets a little upset with me because everything is just like about productivity. Like if I can't just sit on the couch because I'm not like producing something. So I'm struggling with that internally on how to chill a little, and like, especially you guys have kids, like be more present in all areas of life.
For sure.
You struggled with that for a long time. I think
man.
Just recently, the last couple of years have really been a big shift. Of presence.
I would say it was my children that did it for me. It was when it was just me and Rachel, it was pretty easy to just get lost.
Thank you.
Yeah. On Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
No, that's true.
It's true
Yeah.
though. I mean,
Yeah,
you were,
it's just like when you have kids and like even when they're really young and stuff, like you know, they're still pretty easier to manage. It's a big change in your life, but the moment that they want to, you know, they come home and they want to play, man, it's a whole nother level
pure.
of just.
get to the point where they're like, Dad, put your phone away.
They tell
you
you,
know?
they tell you that.
Yeah, I mean,
they tell you
that's-
that.
It's like
And
your
awesome.
own wake
And
up
I
call.
want to
you know?
harp on this because when I was struggling, when we were doing the ski erg at your place, you said, "Do it for your kids, man." Like you were yelling these motivational things at me, and I'm like, "Dude, shut up, man."
I say some crazy stuff.
bleeding, and I can't. No, I loved it. Honestly, I loved it because I
You haven't had that for
I
a
haven't had
long
that in a
time.
fucking long time.
Yeah.
But you said something to me that I just like it unlocked a whole nother level
Oh,
of
yeah.
energy, dude.
Yeah.
And you hit it, and you found the piece, which was it was my kids, man. And you said, dude, your kids are watching you.
What an asshole I was.
That's what you said, and I'm like, fuck, I'm going.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it was
I
like
can see that working though, because Scarlett will say things now where she's like, "Daddy's the strongest guy in the world."
Oh, yeah.
You know, as he's like carrying both girls
Dude,
upstairs,
that's
and
awesome.
it's like,
that makes me
That's
so proud.
awesome.
That makes me
he's
so.
and then he's like,
like,
"All right, I'm
yeah.
carrying
Yeah.
you both." You know,
It makes me
like,
so damn proud because you know what, and that's why I work out every day is so that my kids can crawl all over me. And you know, Scarlett's 5, Layla's 3. You know, Scarlett's what, maybe 50 pounds.
Yeah, they're a solid 70, 75 pounds together.
Yeah,
now,
okay. So to be able to carry them in any way, shape, or form, and to take them up the stairs at both times, like, you know, I still got a lot more weight that I can put on there. Add another third
Yeah.
kid, or like, you know, like, you know what? It's that's the fun stuff, and that's kind of I look at. You know, I got to stay strong for my kids, man.
Yeah. And you're creating those memories, like they'll have those forever. Like dad used to carry us up the stairs, you know, and you'll have those too, and you'll never get those back, you know. And one day, knock on wood, you know, we're not going to be able to have those types of memories. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. Well, I love your story, bro. It's thanks for coming and sharing that stuff. Inspirational and humbling, I think. You know, you said that a couple times. You know, some of the experiences you've had have been really humbling, and sometimes we need some of that. Is, you know, we can really hit a high horse and then, you know, maybe we get a little bit too far over our skis, right? And it's nice to kind of have a humbling experience and a humbling conversation sometimes to, you know, just to bring the balance back. And I think we did that today. I think we really accomplished that today. We kind of wrap up with a what's your biggest takeaway from the conversation? Rach, what do you think? From everything you heard here, what's your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I think I love the whatever it takes. I think that is so cool, and I think that came through in so many different areas of what you talked about. Like you know, you're not gonna be the victim or anything like that. Like you're just so focused on keep moving forward, right? Keep moving forward. Don't get stagnant. And there's a little bit of a criticism of like you're not being present, but at the same time, you're not getting stagnant, right? Like you're continuing to push forward, and whatever happens, just keep moving and don't let it bring you down. You know, just keep moving forward. And I think that's so great. And I think that like we've seen that theme pop up in different areas of our life, so it just felt really applicable, like really relatable too. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. My big takeaway here was your preparedness and your preparedness for the unknown, you know, and it's done through discipline. But from your accident and from your fall and your tremendous recovery, and it was all because you were able to be ready for the unexpected moment. And I think a lot of times we forget about the unknown and what could happen. And there's a lot of fear that can build up, and we really don't do anything about how do we mitigate some of that fear. And I think you really kind of showed, like, dude, I've kind of always been this way, and I was able to bounce back. No matter what life throws at me, I've been able to bounce back and just continue moving forward with whatever it takes, and like all that stuff, man. It's just, dude, it's such a good message.
Yeah.
And it's so motivational. And yeah, you really got a lot. Like, you're so admirable, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You really are. Yeah.
Thank you.
And also at the same time, you've also recognized, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I went out and started it not long ago. It's doing quite well. It's with a family member. A lot of, like, I like that messaging where it's like you partner with people you can really trust.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, you know, there's a risk of ruining the relationship or whatnot, but like, you know, I like that message. And you've mixed it with I'm a business owner and I do real estate. Those two pieces go hand in hand. One creates the cash. The cash is then used to invest in your future for the long term,
Mm-hmm.
and one feeds the other. And that whole system is such a beautiful thing. And you're doing it, and it's proven to work for you. And like, you can. Thing about real estate is like, it's available for everybody.
Yeah.
It's available for everybody.
I tell people, you know, maybe you're not going to hit an amazing deal the first time for, say, a home we're on, but like, get started. Like, real estate is very forgiving. Maybe it takes 7 years, maybe it takes 12 on the long end, but one day you will say, damn, I wish I bought more.
Yeah.
I'm happy I did this.
Yeah. What's your big takeaway from today's conversation?
My biggest takeaway, I think that, like, in regards to specifically you guys, or what?
No, just whatever, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm jealous of, you know, what you guys have and how you've come together as one. And like, you know, that's why I'm so interested. And my girlfriend and I are there too. But it's so hard to, you know, you mentioned you didn't have as much real estate exposure in the beginning, and Jason, you had all that stuff, and like, you know, you had this plan and you executed the hell of it. You know, you have Greystone, you have your company, you have a house here, you got real estate. You guys are doing it together, and like, maybe you're doing more than 50% of the kids, and you know, he's not as, but like, it all evens out because you guys are one. And when you have a partner, like, look at this podcast, you guys both, you know, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. I walked in, wow, this is amazing. So like, you guys are a true partnership, and not a lot of people have that. And I know 75 Hard was big on your relationship and everything. Like, you guys are doing it, and it's admirable too. Like, it's awesome, you know. Good
Thanks,
stuff.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's why we started the podcast, was because I really like talking to Rachel.
Take the good wife.
Why don't we also talk to other people, like, at the same time? That's kind of cool.
I remember when we had the workout, we were actually speaking about the love languages, and as a man, how that is like an epiphany. I'm like, oh, and he was like, you know, I could get my walk in, and I think your time, like, you could walk together,
quality time,
talk,
yeah,
you're present,
time,
like,
yeah.
it's this checks so many boxes, and like, everyone's getting better, and it's like, so. Humans are very difficult to interact and be with, and you got to understand that, you know, I receive love through acts of service, but my girlfriend Maddie doesn't at all. But my natural inclination is like, yo, I just cut the grass. What do you mean you know, it's like,
Yep.
But you didn't tell me you love me. I'm like, oh, so it's like me understanding, like, oh, I don't have to kill myself of doing these services. I could just be present and articulate these thoughts, and that's what she needs and wants, you know, and that's great. You know, I just need and want something else. So it's about, I think you guys have understood each other, and it's honestly, I don't say this word a lot, but beautiful. Like, it's really cool, you know.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
No, thank you. We really appreciate that. Yeah, it's like, you know, finding a partner is super important, and it's all about communication.
Yeah,
and
it's been a work in progress.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Like, we are.
Well, you guys were so young too. I'm like shocked. You're still young, but like, wow.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned something about how, like, we had this plan and we executed, and I think big picture wise, yes, but looking at like the details of the plan, so many things changed along the way. And I think it was like both of us needing to have a willingness to adjust and make changes. And, because the initial plan was to flip houses. You never had this vision of having a brokerage. Like, there's just so many things that changed. And, like, just the willingness to, like, adjust to, of like, how we contributed, it's changed a lot. I mean, I used to work full time to help support you. Now you do all the work and support me. It's like just this constant evolution, and the communication is key. And I think,
nothing's ever set in stone. It's a lot of people, they struggle with the whole I can't start a business type thing because what if it fails? Well, it will
Parts
fail
of it might,
probably the first time, right? I wanted to do the whole house flip thing, and then I realized, boy, there's not a lot of like efficiencies that are kind of going on right now, and I'm still really learning it. And why don't I get my real estate license and like kind of help my friends like buy and sell real estate while I'm doing that stuff at the same time? Oh shit! All of a sudden, I started generating cash. Well then, wait a second. Actually, I'm pretty good at this, and big people actually kind of trust me with their, big financial decision. Oh shit! I'm actually doing a lot more sales. Hey, this is a lot easier selling houses to my friends than actually flipping houses on the south side of Chicago and potentially seeing drive-by shootings, in which that did happen a couple times.
Yeah,
actually seeing drive-by shootings. And I'm like, I'll never forget. I was like, I was eating lunch in my truck that one day, and I'm eating the McDonald's, man. This was before 75 Hard came into our life. I'm eating the McDonald's, and all of a sudden I'm looking straight ahead, and I'm like, boy, there's a blacked out car that just ran, like zoomed by me. So it's a one-way street. It zoomed by me. It made a left, and then, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, what am I doing right now in this moment? Right? Is this what I want to be doing?
Yeah.
And you just kind of, when something like that happens, you just kind of get to another level of like, okay, maybe we shift a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's okay, shifting is good. And then you usually will end up, you learn from the last experience and you find something a little bit better that keeps you moving forward. And
that's the key. You kept moving forward. Like you didn't quit. You didn't quit. The shooting, whatever, McDonald's, like you didn't quit. You could have quit. A lot of people would have quit. But you adapted. You made change, and you found something arguably better and more lucrative.
Yeah. It's that whatever it takes. That's it's so applicable.
Yeah.
It's cool.
All right. Well, this was an awesome conversation.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Yeah, Mike. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, maybe if you got an email or if you got something that you want to share, feel free.
Yeah, I'll share the WIT one. I got a couple emails, but it's witproperties1@gmail.com. So WIT properties, the number 1@gmail.com.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening. I know you got a ass ton of inspiration out of this one. If you found any value in the show, please share it. Mike's got a hell of a story, and I know that you've got some friends that could definitely hear this one. So please share the show. And actually, hey, we're out on YouTube now, so you will find us there, which is kind of cool. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.